EA Games.
Challenge everything.
My favourite and probably most played game of all time has to be Command & Conquer Generals Zero Hour. Now, although I only play single player, and by the way, I tried multiplayer before, and I got slapped continuously, so never again, and I'm not particularly good at the game, it's always just fun. Even today, I still dabble with the content the game has to offer. Currently, I'm on the quest to beat every map on the hard difficulty to get these little stars next to them. Look at them, they're so cool! I remember the scenario when I discovered CNC's existence. I was watching my dad play Generals as the USA on the map Golden Oasis, and I saw him place his supply center here. Why would you place it there? It's at the front of your base, and it's so far away from the supplies. What? I didn't care about that. What really caught my attention was the real-time management of your base and units. It looked so fascinating to me. And to my 6-year-old brain, the thought of creating your own scenarios of war was super cool. And from that moment, I started playing Command & Conquer. Generals was the 6th installment in the franchise, taking Command & Conquer into the 3D realm. The game had a focus on near-future military and war, which of course was set in the near future. Now, Generals allowed you to play as one of 3 factions. The USA, who have advanced technology which costed more than the other 2 factions, but was superior in most ways, besides the Paladin tank. Now, some people think the US have the best air force, but don't worry, I got a solution for that. The Global Liberation Army are the bad guys. Abbreviated to the GLA, they rely on dirt cheap units, snaky tactics, and surprise attacks. And China are the in-between. They are powerful tanks that benefit from being grouped because of the Horde bonus, which increases the rate of fire. As China, your aim is to swarm the enemy with as many units as you can. Each faction emulates different playstyles: the aggressor, the swarmer, and the reserved. The year is 2006. Already I have a small history of strategy games with the likes of Advanced Wars 2 on the GBA, but Command & Conquer was real time, so this was a completely different playing field. I've just begun my first Command & Conquer Generals adventure. My tiny brain is unable to comprehend the word skirmish, so instead I played through all 3 campaigns of the respective factions numerous times, except the Chinese, but I'll soon get onto that. The US campaign is a bit boring initially, feeling very linear during the first few missions, but oh boy, once you get onto mission 4, the campaign is a joy. So many great missions. Setting up your base in the city to defeat the GLA in mission 4, creating a secondary outpost in a desperate attempt to defend yourself after the GLA cut off your main base. And whilst missions 6 and 7 feel a little samey, they're still awesome. The GLA campaign sent you straight into battle with the bombing of a Chinese outpost on the first mission, but that's just the beginning. After mass murdering an entire city, stealing supplies from helpless citizens in need, and demilitarizing the US and China, you send out a toxic warhead to wipe out yet another city. Safe to assume that if the game was released today, it would be met with controversy. Now the Chinese. This campaign starts just after the GLA bombs your parade. You're tasked to hunt down and destroy a small facility in the north to force a GLA retreat. See, this mission did kinda suck since the game already provides everything for you, but mission 2 really makes up for this. I don't know what it is about the GLA, but they love screwing China. After barely escaping a collapsing bridge, you're forced to take refuge in a city. You build up your base, and with the help from a friendly person who owns a ferry, you wipe out the GLA from the city. And it gets better, because mission 3 is one of my favourites. Immediately after you're attacked by the GLA, you're forced to retreat north and destroy the dam to wipe out the GLA forces close behind. But you're not safe yet. Enemy troops are on the opposing side of the river, and with the water level dropping, you quickly scramble up your base to defend yourself and begin eliminating the GLA. If I'm honest, I'm not really a fan of missions 4, 5, and 6, they're just a little boring. But the final mission, I would say I love it if I didn't hate it so much. The mission, how do I put this, was fucking hard.
Unit lost.
But I'll soon get onto that. After I beat the campaigns multiple times, something different needed to happen. But what? See, I found this cool little feature when I was playing Generals. I could capture enemy buildings and build their units. I didn't think much of it at first, but this would soon become a staple of my childhood. You can bet I captured all but one of my enemy's buildings to have access to all their units. With this, I'd create little stories about soldiers infiltrating bases, rescuing captured teammates, protecting civilian targets. I'd pretend the GLA were taking over the US from within like this was fucking Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. from Captain America. I built arsenals of super weapons and just fired them at each of my bases, my thousands of units. That's another thing, this game had no bloody unit cap, thank God. It was like playing with army toys, but in a video game. I was in heaven. Back before I had my own computer, my sister and I would have 1 hour intervals where we would swap who got to use the computer, and every single hour I got, I was playing Generals. I couldn't get enough of the game. I loved creating my own stories. My only gripe was that I could only use super weapons to destroy my units. What if I wanted massive tank battles, hundreds and thousands of infantry units attacking bases? There was no way I could do that. That was until I made a discovery. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh wait, what's this? Oh, by the way, control force fires friendly units. What? Wait a minute, you can fire against your units using control? I gotta try this out. No way. This became another staple of my childhood. I could finally wage war using the hundreds of units I built. My stories became so elaborate. Some days I'd task a team of units to protect civilians in a city and send wave after wave of units to kill them. But this was only the tip of the iceberg, because once I understood what skirmish meant, I could do this on any one of the maps in the game. I'd send hundreds of infantry units to destroy a base. I'd have massive tank battles. I remember setting up a little outpost in the middle of Twilight Flame and held off as many units as I could. I created so many characters, stories, and it's such a shame that I grew bored of it. With only 3 factions and the same units they provided, the game eventually became stale. But little did I know, there was much more to Generals than I'd ever realised. Zero Hour was an expansion to Generals, released in the same year. This built on the foundations Generals created, turning everything to 11. New units, new factions, new abilities, new campaigns, and an all-new challenge mode. How did I only just find this 7 years after its release? Zero Hour reignited my love for Command & Conquer, and I grinded this game for weeks on end. I quickly learnt about the different sub-factions that specialised in specific areas but were much weaker in others. For instance, the China Tank General had very good tanks and ground units, which were cheaper too, but infantry and air units cost more. That was just one of the 9 examples I could have used. I managed to beat all the campaigns, which followed most of the same storylines, but some had different maps, and some even having different subplots tailored to Zero Hour's content. Even on Zero Hour, the Chinese campaign was causing me issues, and it took me a good while before I finally beat it. I don't know what it was, but EA Pacific loved making the Chinese the hardest to play. After finally destroying the GLA on China Missions 4 and 5, the hardest missions I've ever been in any game so far, it hit me. The China campaign was still waiting over on Generals to be completed. I'm not joking when I say I spent years, almost a decade in fact, trying to beat these missions on easy. This just further backs my point that EA Pacific made the China campaigns the hardest. Both missions 3 and 6 had me struggling for multiple attempts just to barely outplay the GLA. Nowadays, I can beat these missions on easy with my eyes closed. But one personally infamous mission holds back that victory march I so desperately deserved. To this day, I still have a hard time beating it. But, in a moment of solitude during 2016, I made it my goal to beat China 7, if it was the last thing I did. My game face was on when I saw my convoy of troops brutally attacked by the GLA. I knew that one screw up could end my whole career, so I'd have to play Command & Conquer smarter than I've ever played it before. I opted to capture the GLA outpost they used to attack me. I set up a line of defense to hold back the seemingly endless waves of GLA soldiers sent to kill me. It finally felt like I was getting somewhere. 15 minutes in and it's the furthest I've come in 10 years. My economy is strong, I'm getting a decent sized army going.
Warning, a Scud Storm has been launched.
I physically can't describe how difficult China 7 was for me. But after years of developing my Command & Conquer skills and months of just grinding that mission, I finally wiped the GLA from the world and saw the victory march I deserved. I have transcended beyond. You know, if I can beat China 7, surely I could beat anyone. Well, let's slap some players online, shall we? But sadly, I'd never be able to experience multiplayer on my favourite game. The shutdown of the GameSpy servers in 2014 sent multiplayer down the drain, not only for Command & Conquer, but many other games too. millions were left heartbroken as they'd never be able to play online again. Of course, there's a LAN option. Maybe I could do something with that. LogMe and Hamachi has brought so many multiplayer experiences for me, most notably private Minecraft servers for my friends and I to play on. But Hamachi had more tricks up its sleeve. I could play LAN with my friends on 0 Hour, if it actually worked. But when it did, it was great. It's just a shame that not many of my friends enjoyed strategy games like I did. So I had to move on. That was until I found Game Ranger. Game Ranger was a client that brought older games into a new era with multiplayer support. It allowed me to finally play with people who had a passion for 0 Hour like I did. This was fantastic. I could finally show off my sick plays against actual human beings instead of easy AI.
You have been defeated.
Well, that was unexpected. Oh, thank you. Can we just appreciate how great the soundtracks are for Generals in 0 Hour? Each faction has their own theme they follow. The USA is overly patriotic sounding. To me, it symbolizes the American military, but that could be because this music is what I've associated with it. Now take a listen to this. If you guessed that this music belonged to the GLA, you'd be correct. EA Pacific really nailed the themes when developing the soundtrack for Generals in 0 Hour. But ultimately, the best soundtrack has to be the China soundtrack. I've got no idea what it is specifically I adore about the soundtrack. I just think it's fantastic. It fits the faction so well, and the different themes really set the tone for the gameplay on screen. The starting theme when you've just begun building your base and economy, to the battle theme that plays when you're waging war against your enemies. But if that wasn't enough, the use of the score in the campaign is just... oh man, they give me the chills. Just take a listen to this.
GLA forces! We're under attack! They are everywhere! We are being overrun! Wait, we need reinforcements! We've lost the airfield! They're trying to get to the main reactor! Protect it at all costs! The command center! They got the command center!
I can't contain my excitement when I watch these cutscenes, and for some reason, only the China soundtracks get me all nerdy with excitement. I just love it. EA Pacific created such a great atmosphere with the mixture of the cinematics and music. That, combined with the narrations from your assistant, just sounds incredible. Zero Hour is almost 2 decades old now. The game is great, but the age sheds light on the limitations of the Sage engine and gameplay. As I've become accustomed to great frame rates during my time among the PC master race, sometimes it can be challenging to return to Generals and 0 Hour, since the games are locked at a measly 30 frames per second. At least let me unlock the camera frame rate so it pans smoother like in multiplayer. I couldn't care less if the animations are 30 frames, just let me pan smoothly, please EA! To this day, there is still a massive community behind Generals and 0 Hour. Players compete against each other, some for fun, others to win a community prize pool. I never really understood the excitement behind competitive Call of Duty MLG tournaments, probably because I didn't understand the game. But some of the 0 Hour matches I see on Generals Gentlemen have me on the edge of my seat, anxiously waiting for someone to win. And multiplayer competitive matches aren't the only content keeping 0 Hour relevant. There are hundreds of mods to choose from. Rise of the Reds, Shockwave, and Contra are just a few. Now personally, I haven't really explored many of the mods, mainly because vanilla is still enough for me right now, but it's nice to see I still have so much content to explore once I grow bored of 0 Hour. I can't praise the community enough for what they've done for 0 Hour. EA Pacific, while they created an awesome game, left it with major balancing issues. Some Generals were simply overpowered, and others just didn't stand a chance. So once again, the community stepped in and released an unofficial patch balancing the game and bringing joy to many 0 Hour players. There's one mod that gets me excited for the future of 0 Hour. While the graphics are great, it's no secret that 0 Hour does look its age, especially when you put it next to Company of Heroes, which was released just 3 years later. And I know that graphics aren't the be-all and end-all of video games, especially when it's an RTS. But damn, I do wonder what Zero Hour would look like if it was built on a modern engine. General's Evolution is a mod for Red Alert 3 which plans to bring Zero Hour onto a modern CNC engine. The aim is for better visuals, and while I know the mod won't be exactly like the game, I just have to know how good this game can look. Please, Gunship, just release something. Anything new. It's been 17 months since your last update. Please, something, anything. I mean, at this rate, we can expect a bloody remaster of Zero Hour before this releases. But EA would never remaster Zero Hour. Would they? " 2018 brought a mixture of emotions for Command & Conquer fans around the globe. The announcement of Rivals at E3 left a bad taste in the mouths of many. But thankfully, EA couldn't trample Command & Conquer anymore and instead begun the resurrection of Command & Conquer with remasters coming in the following years. EA, I have one request. If you're gonna remaster the OG Command & Conquers, don't stop there. Remaster all the way up to Zero Hour, please, I am begging you. And don't screw it up. So, why do I still play the game today? I guess the reason is I can connect with my past self. Recreating those scenarios I developed as a kid allows me to resonate with my younger self, reflecting on how far I've come. It's probably not that though. I just adore this bloody game, and there's so much to do, and since I suck at games, I'll be playing this game for years to come, trying to beat all the maps, all the challenge modes, and all the campaigns on the hardest difficulty. So really, my Zero Hour journey has just begun.